Welcome back to the vlog. I'm Piotr Mokry, a Dallas-based DP, photographer, gaffer with a 1-ton grip van full of Aputure lights. Today we're going to be doing direct-to-camera teleprompter interviews. I set everything up myself. I ran the whole shoot myself. It can be done. Until you can afford more crew, sometimes you just have to do it on your own. This guy showed up right before we were starting to film, and I had to give him a little love. Luckily, he was gone during the interviews. It would have been a little awkward. But we're getting the van unloaded, cart set up, so let's dive in. My cart set up for the day. We have my shape bag with my FX6. Below we have lenses, an FX3 as a backup, and an A7 IV that I will be using for some photos. We have a teleprompter right here in the gray Pelican case. We have our tape and clips of various sizes. We have 5 C-stands. Crammed in right here is a Sattler Ace tripod. Then we have a Manfrotto tripod for the teleprompter. Sometimes I like to have them separate so I don't have to carry such a heavy tripod. Then we have our Nan light Pavo tubes here for our hair light. And then right here crammed in is our boom pole with our Sennheiser mic. We have an Aputure dome up top. It's the 150 dome. We have an Aputure 60D, which is a little Fresnel style light, great little light. And then we have a 600C Pro in the crate. And down below is the ballast with some odds and ends. Here we have our shot bags, 4 of them. And right there is my lunchbox. And this is actually a 6x frame that splits into 2 pieces, little bitty one. And then our rags are tucked in under there. And then finally we have a bounce for our fill light. So that's our setup right there. 1 cart, push up, and it's ready to go. And I went ahead and added 2 more shot bags here. Look how small those guys are. Those are 20 pounds each. They're actually gonna hold the stands down, which they don't really need any help, but I was able to squeeze those onto the cart. Probably could have gotten them in under there, but didn't want to disassemble. So they're gonna sit right there. One thing to be very aware of is the floors in office buildings are not cheap. So make sure that your wheels don't leave marks, they don't mar anything, create any damage, so you don't have any problems with the building or the client. So these views are amazing. Would make a great backdrop for any video, but you have to have the output. I've shot in this scenario before in this area, and the 1200D modified down to soften it up was barely enough to cut it. And today we do not have the budget for that. So we're gonna have to adapt accordingly. So we're gonna have to go with something. If you look here, the sky can get more blown out, but if you try to get mostly building in the shot, you can a lot of times avoid having those fluctuations and those highlights just being blown out. So we're gonna see if I can get an angle where we get mostly buildings in the background. Let's dive into the setup. So I'm gonna be setting up a teleprompter because we're looking direct into camera for teleprompter interviews. There will be a key light, which is an Aputure 150 dome with a 600C. We have a bounce board, which is just foam core, and then we have a Pavo tube overhead to give us a hair light. We're booming our audio with a shotgun mic so it sounds nice and clean, so we could get the people in and out without having to lav them, but we will be monitoring to make sure that nothing is messed up or missed. And then we've got to make sure that we're shooting into a different direction than we have before. We don't want these videos to look the same, so we're changing it up and looking a different way. Now, when setting up these lights, we want them to match to a certain extent. So I'm actually going to be matching the house lights. We have them on full blast. Last time we had them dimmed down and we were having a flickering effect. You're actually seeing some of that here. So we're having them set to full power, and I'm going to be matching just the room ambiance and the room color and making my 600C match that color. The outside will be a little blue compared to the inside, and that is fine with me because it's so subtle and the company has kind of a blue look for their colors, so I think it's going to flow well. So I'm using this app to find out what my white balance is all over the room. So here is the shot for today. We're going to see how those highlights look on the outside. We're going to hit the false color, and we're right on the edge. Orange is just hitting it. We have no red showing, so we should be in a safe place. This is as bright as it's going to be getting outside, so we should be all right. These are little short spots, so if we have a little bit of variance outside, it's not going to make a big difference. One of the things I wanted to talk about is a little tip for interviews that really can make a huge difference in the final outcome of the video, and it has nothing to do with any of the camera equipment that you may have. What it is these little guys. They are the oil absorbing wipes. You can find them all over. I'll have a link below so you can find them real easily. They're very inexpensive and you can buy them in like multi-packs. Well, what they're gonna do is, you can see the sheen on my head, and it's gonna help remove that sheen in all the oily places. And if you see, it gets really yucky and gross, but that right there is going to help make everyone less shiny. Sometimes people come in at the end of the day, after lunch, whatever the case may be, or they just may be more oily depending on the climate that you're in. Everyone's different, and this is good for everyone, for men, women, everything in between, because it can help them in a situation. I ideally recommend, some people have more sensitive skin, they can turn red real easily, to just dab them in the areas so they don't irritate their skin. And these are really, really great. So you get around the nose where you get real oily, and then you get the hot spots on the forehead, and that will help to make a more beautiful shot. I like to make sure everything's taken care of once the talent arrives, so they're not running around and we have to stop shooting because someone needs a tissue, someone may need a drink of water. If all possible, get room temperature and then iced colder to give them an option. Some people like room temperature water, some people like cold water with ice in it. And then these are the oil absorbing wipes. I will go ahead and get some pulled out slightly, so it's just easier to just grab those and they can blot. And this stuff is ready to go. This is where their mark is, and immediately to the side where they don't trip over things or go running is ready to go right there. So here's how I do my marks, and a lot of people do it this way. It's in a T shape, so when the person comes to stand, they know they're standing here. Sometimes if you do an X, they don't know which direction to go. So here, it kind of guides them and lets them know, okay, foot on each side, here, like this, and they're set up to go. Also, this is just one piece of gaff tape that I just ripped in half long ways. So it's actually normally a bit longer, but also you curl up the ends, fold them over, so then when you come to wrap out, you just peel them off. Or if you have to readjust in a hurry, you're not sitting there trying to pick at it while the talent's ready to go. Sometimes you have to make fine-tune adjustments, but it's good to set the spot ahead of time. And then if they need to move a little, you say just move over, and then you can keep an eye on them. Also, between takes, they'll sometimes drift, go get a drink of water, and it ends up being an issue. So it's really good to keep them on point. I apologize, but as an AI text-based model, I don't have direct access to browse the internet or view specific YouTube channels. Therefore, I cannot provide a summary of the YouTube channel you mentioned at Piotr Mokry. However, you can visit the channel yourself and explore its content. Typically, YouTube channels feature topics such as gaming, cooking, educational content, vlogs, music, or any other niche interest. You can check the channel's video titles, descriptions, and thumbnails to get an idea of the content they create. That was all being read off a script on a teleprompter, which I have control of here. And I could scroll up and down and do different things with it. What I just read off was I asked ChatGPT, hey, summarize my YouTube channel. I guess it doesn't connect to the internet, so there's the summary for you. This is what it looks like with the script rolling. You can adjust the speed, and it's a mirror that your lens shoots through, so it's two-way glass, and all your stuff's right there. You can adjust the speed and read it right off so you don't have any issues, and your talent can do everything perfectly. It's a really nice setup, real easy to use, and I use my phone connected to it so I can control the start, the stop, the speed, and it's real easy to make adjustments. You just click a button, hit edit, and you can change things up. I airdrop things from my phone to make it work. The dreaded pile of cables. I'm going to sound like Bubba from Forrest Gump, but we have HDMI, mini, micro, full size, USB-C, mini, micro, XLR, 3.5 millimeter, charging this, charging that, SDI. I mean, it's just endless, and they just pile up. Some of them you'll never use. Some of them you keep on standby, and that one time you pull it out and you're like, yes, I have a backup, and it saves the day. And then you get a little cocky and you're like, you know what? I don't need to bring all this. It's pointless. And then that day, you have a situation where you have to run over to Best Buy, Micro Center, whatever place has electronics, sometimes even Walmart, and you have to get something in a pinch, in a panic. So I keep these on hand. It just makes my life easier. And each one of my bags, so I have two shape bags, has almost a matching set, or at least one of each style, to keep me covered, because you just never know what you're going to deal with. And then I even have specific bags and pouches dedicated to certain cables. With HDMI, some are just lightweight like this one, and they're just for gimbal use, and they don't do good on transmitting high quality video. But this other one, the silver one, is for high quality video. So I could do, 10-bit, 12-bit, 16-bit, 4K, 60, 120, and to the Atomos recorder, and it's not going to have an issue. And then these are for, transmitters and receivers and all that nonsense for wireless systems. And I have some flexible USB-Cs that I use for my gimbal rig to give me power to the gimbal itself from my V-Lock battery. So I really appreciate everyone coming to the channel, watching. All your comments are greatly appreciated. I love getting down in the comments and talking with you guys on having a conversation. Also, I'm starting to do some more community posts to get some engagement, so I can really get an idea of what everyone wants to see on this channel. Thank you so much for just being a supporter from the beginning, or if you're new, welcome to the channel. I will keep cranking out content. I try to get them out on Sundays. I'm actually editing this few hours before this is posted, getting it popped up, thinking of a thumbnail, hoping it bites and we get some views. But right now I'm doing this just because I really enjoy it. I really enjoy sharing what goes on. And actually my family watches this. They knew I was a shooter for years, but they didn't really realize what I do and what goes into photo and video production. And now I can share with my family, my friends, and the YouTube community what I'm able to do out there. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next Sunday.